bass junkie on the mic. Worldwide flight, builders in the base, making futures bright. Many have dreams, stacking beams, take the lead. Bass apps unite, planting every seed. From Tokyo towers to Parisian streets, builders coding visions, no defeat. Many app magicians pulling from the ether, scripts tighter than a bank vault keeper. Silicon spark where the minds all merge. Fireside stories fuel truth in the search. Blueprints blazing, innovations choir, ideas catching fire, lifting empires higher. Base builders around the world, hands raised. Every mini app's a candlelight in new ways. Code and create, let the passion unfurl. Fireside media shines on the builder world. Base the world. Fireside media shines on the builder world. Fingers on the keys, symphonies of syntax, builders dropping beats, every line impacts. From the desert of Dubai to NYC, on base and beyond, boundless energy. Spotlights on the crews, every block they tether. Fireside media tells how they build together. Baseline thumping, hearts start jumping, change in the air, you can feel it pumping.
Dream it, build it, watch it ignite. Bass apps blooming, stars in the night.
Base builders around the world, hands raised. Every mini app's a candlelight in new ways. Code and create, let the passion unfurl. Fireside media lifts the builder world. Base world. Fireside media lifts the builder world. Base world. Fireside media lifts the builder world.
Yo, yo, yo! And welcome to another edition of Fireside Media, the daily talk show. In fact, it's not even daily. Now we are taking a little hiatus, but there was a monumental guest who graced us with their presence. So we're like, you know what? Let's come back for a special one-on-one exclusive tonight before we jump into the base batches for season, which will be starting very shortly. So stay tuned for that. Make sure your notifications are on. And guys, we have a special guest with us today. Make sure you smash that retweet button. Let your parents know where you're at. Let your neighbors know where you're at. Let everybody know where you're at with that retweet button, that special retweet button that lets people know where you are. And guys, smash the comments. If you have any questions, let us know. Because from one hat to another, I mean, honestly, this is the rarest show where the guest has brought a better hat than me. But without any more dancing around the bush, let's welcome the founder of DGen Chain, the founder of POV Market, Mr. Jacek himself. Yo, Jacek, how are you today?
Hey, what's going on? Doing good. It's a little bit later in the night for me, but yeah, all is well.
Well, dude, I must say, I appreciate you making the time for the show. Lots to unpack. First of all, when we jumped on the back screen, it was a black screen. I'm like, okay, maybe he's undocked. Maybe he doesn't want to show his face. And then when you revealed yourself with the big purple hat, I'm like, Mr. DGen himself.
I got this hat from Colton, who was actually my boss at Hedgehog, which was the previous startup I worked at. It was backed by Y Combinator and Dragonfly. And so he was at DGen for a little bit after, because that Hedgehog wound down. And then sort of as this like token of appreciation, or just like as a present, he essentially bought me this hat, and it's like super legit. It's it had, it's,
oh wow,
yeah. So it's
really good.
I don't know if it's like leather or what it is, but I think he was telling me about it. It's like some kind of real material. So this is a hat.
I've seen some of these professional hats being made, and it's a thing of art. It's not something you just pick up at Target or Primark. It's they're one of ones, made to order. And to be honest, for Mr. DJ himself, I mean, like the hat is synonymous with the brand. I mean, okay, chicken or the egg question. What came first, the hat or the DJ brand?
The DJ brand, yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, all right. So you mentioned your wonderful boss who bequeathed onto you this rock star hat, this Willy Wonka hat. Honestly, like I feel like in the streets, people that know crypto were like, "Yo, is that Mr. DJ?" People that don't know crypto were like, "Hey, man, do you have some chocolate?"
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like 2 years ago when I was walking around different conferences or whatever. I don't really go to that many, but when I did go, everybody was like, "Whoa, that's the DJ hat or whatever." Like, DJ. I'm like, yeah, I know DJ.
Dude, honestly, I feel I must feel that on some smaller degree because this is the Base Junkie hat, and like when I just walk around like this is my Clark Kent mode, and I go to this, and it's like, whoa, is that Base Junkie? And I must say, it only happens in like very, 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 very niche circles. So at Base Camp and On Chain Summit, people were like, "Yo, Base Junkie," and it was a proper validator. It was like amazing to feel in that sense. But when I was at the airport after like the 3-day hangover, I just wanted some peace and quiet. I took it off, and I was invisible.
Yeah.
Is it the same for you?
I haven't really been at a crypto conference for like more than a year, but definitely when 2024 meme coins were taking off, Farcaster was taking off. Yeah, it was definitely kind of crazy. Like I could walk around with the hat basically anywhere, and people would know what it represented. So they didn't know necessarily that I was the person behind Degen, but they were like, yeah, we've heard about Degen, we know about it. So that was very cool. 2025, I think I only went to like ETH Warsaw out here in Poland.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, it's kind of like laying low. The market's sort of stagnating, so I haven't been traveling. But yeah, it is kind of crazy. Like the biggest one was probably FarCon 2024. Like basically everybody, like me and I think Jesse and then Dan and Varun, founders of Farcaster, and Jesse Polak from Base. I think we kind of all felt like celebrities. I'm sure if you ask them, everybody was just like so ecstatic about this new thing.
Yeah, I mean, Farcaster. I do want to dive into that, but before we do, give us a bit of a trip down memory lane. A bit before your time with Farcaster, before your time with Degen. You mentioned about your boss, who Hedgehog, I think you mentioned.
Yep.
But like, what sort of led you? What were the breadcrumbs that you were following that sort of led you towards the Web3, building your own chain, an L3? I think Degen was actually probably the first L3 that I'd heard of. But like, talk to us about the journey towards there and what led to like the personal branding of that.
Yeah, so I had first heard about crypto when I was in college. So I don't know, that was like 15 years ago, something like that. 12, 15 years ago, so somewhere around there. So, and Bitcoin is maybe like $200, and like the first headlines were kind of coming out, and so I ended up really wanting to buy some, and then I ended up, I think I did end up buying a little bit of Bitcoin. At that point, I probably even held like one or two. So I had that, and then I flipped it because it went up to like 800 or 1,000 or something. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. So for like a college kid, I was like, this is good. I'm happy. So,
I'm rich. Bitcoin's $1,000. I'm rich.
Yeah. I was like, wow, this is a great flip. I was like really into trading, so I was into those trenches. I saw a lot of the early dramas, the Mt. Gox thing up close. I saw Cryptsy, which was like a US sort of exchange. So I saw like all of these different like things happening around Bitcoin. I was in the IRC chats. That was really big for Bitcoin for whatever reason. So like those old school chats, like not even, not the new stuff that we have now, like X Spaces and video streams. So it was interesting. then I sort of just forgot about it. I had showed Bitcoin to all my friends. A couple of my friends had bought it. They held like I had one friend who held like I think he's still holding. So he's really happy about that. And then I just started my career essentially. So I finished computer science programming. I went to IBM. I worked at IBM for like a little bit, and then I started working at Credit Suisse because I really like finance. I always kind of think I watch like the finance movies, like the Wall Street movies, and
The Big Short.
yeah. Like basically all of that just seemed fascinating to me. I think I would have liked to be a trader, but my thing was like I finished programming, so I did it from the other side. So essentially doing reporting and databases and a lot of the reporting for like some of the big regulators essentially that the Credit Suisse had to report to. So I did that, and then I went to mBank, and then I went back to Credit Suisse, and then I was like, okay, I'd like to do something more interesting. And Credit Suisse was also on the down and down because it was just they ended up flopping and going bankrupt. So then I went to Hedgehog, and that just kind of happened because of COVID. Because I live out here in Poland, and obviously the startup scene is out in Silicon Valley, or it was at least. Still is to a large degree, but a lot of it has gone remote. And because of COVID and like the whole remote culture, I was able to get into a Y Combinator startup, which is something I always wanted to do as an early employee. And so Colton, the person that we mentioned who bought me the hat, he was there. He hired me, like very, very cool, laid back person. He taught me all about like Ethereum because I missed all of that. So I missed the whole like, smart contracts, all this kind of stuff. And we weren't even building.
And which year was this?
This was about 5 years ago or something. So maybe it was literally the beginning of like COVID. So whenever
Like
that was.
2020?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. So that's sort of when it all started. And so COVID was around, everybody was doing remote work. And so that's kind of why I got the opportunity to work at like this Y Combinator startup. Otherwise you would have had to just been in Silicon Valley in so you had to like physically be there. So that was cool. Worked there for like 3.5 years, but as startups go, not all of them survive. And so Hedgehog was also encountering issues. And I decided, okay, I've been working now for like about 10-ish years, like a decade essentially. And I always had side projects. And so, at late stage high school and in college, I was a DJ. I was producing music. I was ghost producing music for one of the top 100, I think even top 50 DJ Mag DJs, ranked by DJ Mag, which is like the biggest DJ ranking. I was creating my own beats, and I was traveling, having like a little bit of success, like obviously not like huge, but that was going good. And then I had some other projects. One of my projects got like to the top 10 page of Hacker News, which is like a huge thing in the programming world. So I had like a viral app that kind of got big in the Android Play Store. So it was like I've had like minor successes here and there. I've had viral successes, and so I always just like doing stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and do something. Just gonna build something just for fun. And so I tried to raise some money. I quit Hedgehog. I did nothing for a month, relaxed, kind of got my head straight. And I was like, okay, December of 2023, let's go ahead and build something. And also I went to my first ever crypto conference, which was DuneCon from Dune Analytics, the platform. Mm-hmm. I talked to Mats, the CTO of Dune. And he was there after the whole conference. They had a whole party at the bar, and he was there having a couple of drinks. And I just kind of went up to him and just asked him like about his story, like how did he start Dune? Because Dune was also sort of a unicorn. They essentially had $1 billion valuation at that point. So yeah, and he sort of told me about his story. He's like, yeah, just quit your job. Or I'm like, yeah, I don't, I'm not. Well, actually, no. What I said is I quit my job. That's what I told him. He's like, and everybody was congratulating me, which was like the weirdest thing because like in my normal friend group and like family group, everybody's like, oh man, like what are you gonna do? Like what are you thinking? All that kind of stuff. And everybody in the DuneCon conference was like, congratulations, like this is great, like, yeah. So anyway, that's sort of like the long-winded version of everything that happened up to that. And then after that, things just fell into place. So essentially December, I'd been working two weeks on something. It was called channels.fun. Doesn't exist. It was going to be something like Friendtech in a sense. And then on Farcaster, I launched Degen, and literally things they took off in the first month. Literally 5-6 weeks later, I'd gotten $1 million investment from One Confirmation. We launched the Degen L3. Degen was going to all-time highs. All these different VCs were buying Degen through their liquid funds because I wouldn't sell it to them directly at a discount, and so they had to go on the market and buy it. And basically, this thing just sort of launched off to like 6 cents, over $1 billion valuation, market cap, or FDV rather than market cap. And yeah, and then and that was it. Like we became the biggest token on Base, and still are, I'd say, one of the biggest tokens on Base.
Okay, well, wow, what a journey! Really, what a journey! Like, wow. And one thing that stuck out from that was the validation from family and the confusion from family and loved ones,
Yeah.
who and the validation from like tech heads, because it's something that I've experienced also. And I remember when I quit my job in 2021 to go full time into NFTs, which is like, explain to your parents who are in their 60s, like, hey, so I'm going to sell cartoon pictures on the internet for money. Is like, yeah, but seriously though, like, what are you going to do? Like, what happens if you sell none of them? I'm going to sell a lot of them. No, but like, I know you want to sell a lot of cartoon pictures of animals on the internet, but like, realistically, like, come down to planet Earth. And like, that whole conversation before something happens was so, I think it's a strong litmus test for the founder of a project to have that determination to respect the advice of loved ones, but also say, like, look, I know you want what's best for me, but I'm crossing, I'm blazing new ground here. This has never been done before. I understand that you want what's best for me based on your life experiences, but these new opportunities that didn't exist 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago, this is where I'm going to make my own. And for me, it happened at 12:15 at midnight. I was at my parents' house on vacation. We launched our NFT collection, and then my mom was like, "So, hey, how's it going? Did you sell any of your cartoon pictures?" I was like, "We sold all of them. We sold 8,000 dogs at $200 a piece."
Crazy.
And like, my life has been changed since then. And I'm very open about it because I'm one of those rare NFT founders who literally just fulfilled the entire roadmap, created a new roadmap, fulfilled that second roadmap, and then eventually went down with the ship. Like, NFTs kind of eventually faded off, and like, I have no shame about the journey. It would have been most profitable to just rug it there and then, but Junkyard Dogs, that's the collection that changed my life. And when you were sharing the story about how your loved ones were like, yeah, but be realistic here, be sensible, like, what are you doing? And you're like, no, I have this vision. This is what I'm going to do. I think it takes a certain type of personality to to follow their own conviction and push that through to success. And Degen, as exactly as you say, I mean, wow, what it became from an idea to a raise to a project. Like it was the biggest thing for a long time, and like it boggles the mind.
That's crazy. I didn't know about you, the NFT collection behind what you did, but that's something we can even DM about, just because I feel like you've gone, like, especially once you see your project like go through it all, like, you know, basically you go down with the ship where it goes like through a huge retracement, 99% or whatever it is. It's like that's crazy. Like that's when you feel it. You're like, because the initial part is like, wow, this is amazing. Everybody's behind you, but then things sort of turn and you're like, okay, now we got to fight the current, and like keep gaining that attention, and yeah, it's tough. But no, I feel I didn't really have like any huge conversations with anybody really, because I'd already been programming for 10 years and I just knew that I wanted to do this. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to do something and mess around with just creating stuff. And I saw there was like a lot of VC capital everywhere. So I was like, well, you know, and I think working at Hedgehog, I was like, well, you know, they got VC money for this idea. You know, I have similar ideas, and now I've sort of seen them kind of work up close. And I'm like, I think I can do this. You know, I saw the ups and downs at Hedgehog, because that was also very difficult. Like there was some like really big downswings as well, where they just had to like really buckle down, and I don't even know like all of it. I just know like part of the stories. So I saw it up close, and I sort of knew what I was getting into, and that wasn't just going to be easy and fun. But yeah. I always had this idea like, hey, I can always go back to programming. Like there's always going to be some sort of, like, even with AI and all this stuff now, there's always going to be some need for a programmer out there. So even if this thing doesn't work out, like there's no downside. Like I'll just go back. Maybe maybe I would have spent a little bit of my savings, but you know, who cares? Like I'll just, you know, it's not going to change my life. So whereas if I do the VC startup thing, that could change my life, and it did. So the same thing that, you know, what you said is essentially Degen definitely changed a lot of things for me.
Yeah, and I think Degen was something revolutionary. In fact, it was the first L3 that I'd heard of. I mean, I do want to jump onto POV markets, but just before we do, talk to us about the concept of an L3, because I think Degen was it was the very first L3 that I'd ever heard of. And yeah, just talk us through the concept of that.
Yeah, so this came from somebody in the community. They had suggested that, hey, why don't you build your own chain? It's really easy now. There's a couple companies that are essentially making it just like as easy as clicking deploy, and you can basically do it. So, and like basically Arbitrum and Optimism had created like an easy path for creating these L3s. So, and he said he would build on it because he was a builder. So he's like, yeah, deploy, I want to do some things. So I was like, okay, cool. If the community wants it, I'll try and do something, and let's try and make this a new ecosystem chain. So yeah, we were definitely one of the first L3s out there. One of the first sort of, even before like this whole chain meta started, I think we were one of the first ones to sort of get on it. I think before Berachain and Ape Chain and all these other, I don't think we were before Blast, but essentially Blast was sort of something at that
I think Blast was an L2 though.
Yeah. So they were L2s, but like essentially a lot of companies and things were starting their own chains, and this was sort of like their own thing. But yeah, L3 was just, we were building on top of Base. And the idea was that it was, a lot of people were building on Farcaster. They were building like mini apps, and Frames was sort of the first version of mini apps. And so that, hey, if you're going to build all of this, and Degen's giving out rewards on Farcaster. So essentially we're giving awards to builders, to posters, to artists, to everybody, basically anybody that posts something and gets a lot of likes and gets a lot of tips, Degen tips, then we'll reward you for it. So I was thinking that, hey, since people are getting rewarded in Degen, they're going to really like to build on the Degen chain? Like, why not? You know, this is going to be great for both of us. Like, you get the token, you get to hold the token, and you're building on a chain where you're essentially increasing the value of the chain, increasing the value of Degen, because Degen is the gas token. And so we like, let's create this flywheel over here. So that was the idea. It ended up not really working out because a lot of people, what the first thing that happened was people just launched meme coins. That was actually the thing that was interesting about it, is that people just wanted to launch meme coins. They wanted to have fun. They wanted to mess around with tokens. They didn't really want to build as much, and that's the tough thing, because, you know, even with Base, like, there's no clear like app that's just like, oh, this is like, there's no like poly market of Base yet even, and Base is a huge chain, a huge company, so with Coinbase backing them. So I think Degen chain was super innovative, super new. Nobody had done it. Everybody then kind of copied it and followed suit, and that was cool. It was a really great idea, and I'm glad we did it. I mean, that was like, it also like really got the holders excited about that. So yeah.
So I remember getting involved with Degen chain with some meme coins, exactly as you say. Like, that is like kind of where like the trencher mentality is, the opportunist, like the wow, something new. I got into Degen Pepe, Depe,
Okay, yeah. I remember that.
and a few others. I forget now, but I remember the Purple Frog. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna take me to retirement. But but yeah, it was all just in good fun. And then I remember at Basecamp hearing about some of the people that had made like 6 figures plus on like the Degen airdrop. It's like, what the heck? This Degen story kind of became legendary.
Yeah.
To be honest, like, it was like, wow, Degen is something special, and like no one can take away from that.
Yeah.
Everything that you built, everything, all the opportunities that were created, all the tipping, all that culture that was formed. I think, to be honest, it was one of the key drivers to the growth of Farcaster, especially in the early days. I mean, I don't think Farcaster would have had that mind share if it wasn't for that symbiotic winning mentality, which a lot of it happened through Degen and Degen chain and Degen tokens, like the tipping, supporting each other financially. What, on a social media? What? It would, like, huge credit to you and Degen for helping to shape Farcaster in what it was, in especially in its growth phase.
Yeah, I mean, this is like 100% what I believe is essentially, if you line up the Degen sort of price chart with the daily active users from Farcaster, you'll see that it's like clearly correlated. Like as Degen was going out, as we were giving away more money through Degen, essentially through airdrops, this was driving a lot of the growth. Good or bad, like anybody can sort of debate that. Like, are the people coming in just to farm this token at a certain point? Is this bringing in low quality users, as Dan like to used to always call them? Or is this actually net positive, because you had a lot of people that joined Farcaster because of all of this sort of commotion. You had Bob Burnquist, legendary skateboarder from Tony Hawk 1. You had Waka Flocka Flame, legendary sort of like rapper and cultural person in the US. And like a lot of so there was just like, it's just one after the other. There was tons of people that were like sort of famous, not even just in crypto, but like sort of crypto curious, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So like Degen brought all those people in, and the reason Farcaster was sort of, in my opinion, able to raise like 180 million was because the daily active users were growing like crazy. And that was coming from partly the farmers and partly like the whole hoopla of like, what's going on over here? Like, this is like some crazy thing. So I think that Degen was sort of like this missing, like Farcaster didn't have a token. So essentially Degen gave it a token. And that was sort of like the missing piece where People just wanted to have it. I think in hindsight, maybe the airdrops were too aggressive. Maybe the rewards were a little bit too aggressive. But at the same time, we didn't make millionaires. I mean, there's a few people who earned earned and sold and essentially became millionaires because of Degen. So, which is a great story. It's great lore, and it's great for the community to be like, wow, like this is a place where millionaires were made. This community helped promote Farcaster, which is a great cause because decentralized social is a great idea. It's essentially censorship, going against censorship and all that kind of stuff. It's good. So not to also take from Dan and Varun because they built the product. I mean, they built it. They built it for like 5 years straight, essentially, and they were actually giving it good direction. They were giving it good features and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think that was.
I mean, to be honest, not to, sorry to cut you off there, but like I think. I don't think it takes away from what they built. It's really is a one hand feeds the other situation where you created an incredible complementary product to give a why to use it. I mean, like they created the Rails with Farcaster, and in many ways, I still believe I'm bullish on Farcaster in the concept and like ideologically, like it. One thing I'll say like my qualms afterwards, but like ideologically, it makes a lot of sense, and the fact that you created a not byproduct, but a product within the application, a why to use it. Like they created better Rails. Hey guys, come over here. Why? Degen was the why. Degen really brought people over. It's like, oh wow, actually, hey, there's a whole new playground over here. This is pretty cool. Well, let me tap some buttons. Let me check some games. Let me test some apps. So, wow, I didn't realize you could do this on social media. Like, why isn't all social media like this? And it really spoke deeply to a subset of crypto users, or not just crypto users, but there's like tech users who are looking for like the next useful thing. And I think because it was such a subset of users, it really created a strong core community of like-minded individuals.
Yeah. No, I mean, the whole first sort of cohort of users that Dan and Varun sort of put together, I think was just like amazing. So essentially you had VCs, you had some of the top builders in crypto, you had people who were just like super into crypto and just like in the trenches, and you had people who discovered this new thing just sort of randomly, but this kind of got them into all of this and became super bullish on everything crypto, everything sort of cypherpunk and all that kind of stuff. So the first cohort was super powerful, and you could reach out to Jesse Polak and you could reach out to any VC and everybody would respond to you. And like on Twitter, you just get drowned out. But here, like it was like an amazing first community. So in a sense, it was very much similar to Facebook, where it was just the Harvard domain names that could register at first. And so then it became a little bit more messy because, Facebook, they started doing one domain name at a time, one school, one sort of Ivy League school at a time, and sort of branching out. Maybe that was a little bit of a mistake, opening it up. I don't know, you can't really tell. But that first cohort community was really the amazing one. And then after that, it started getting watered down a little bit, I think, through the airdrops, through the farming. And then you had this whole battle of like low quality, high quality users. But then you also had the amazing people like that I mentioned, like Von Bergquist and Waka Flocka Flame and everybody else that I don't even remember now who came. So there was actually a good cohort forming after too. It's just for some reason it kind of got drowned out. And the other thing is I kind of feel like we should have, at least as an experiment, tried to partner up with Farcaster. And I just think that we were all sort of like in our own bubbles in a sense. I really wish that Farcaster was also more open in that first year to doing some kind of partnerships. I don't feel like they were. I didn't push it either, so it wasn't like I was in their DMs like really pushing for it, but I also didn't feel like it was something that they would go for. So
Mm.
because I really felt like they should probably reach out with some kind of proposition. And so it was kind of like this thing of, well, maybe we should just both thought about this idea a little bit more. And Dan is a very opinionated person, so I think Varun less so. I think Varun is opinionated, but I think he's easier to talk to, at least for me. And I've met Dan. He's a cool person. Like there's not, again, nothing against that guy. He's doing incredible work now. He's doing stable coins and things. So the thing is, I just feel like maybe what we could have done as an experiment is done something like Kaido, because Degen was a little bit of like InfoFi before InfoFi, and
Mhm.
essentially finding the influencers on Farcaster, because they did this later. They did this like a year and a half later with Farcaster rewards, where they giving like a couple $100 to the top posters. And people liked that. They enjoyed it. But I feel like we could have just done that with Degen from the beginning. And I think people like the token. And if we could have made Degen the token of Farcaster in some way and figured out some kind of deal where they don't feel like they're making just me rich, or just because I created an ERC20 token, which is kind of like the mentality I kind of felt from a part of the community, which was like, well, what did you really do? Like you just launched a token. Like that's not anything. Like the other, I kind of feel, I understand the other side. Like, no, we're building the valuable product. We're hiring the people. Like, I don't get why we should be supporting some token. Not that anybody said that directly, but that's definitely the vibe that was there
Yeah.
from like the Silicon Valley minded builders who came from like Coinbase and other places. Like, we don't get it. Like, you didn't do anything, kind of thing. So, but I feel like there was some kind of cross, at least an experiment that would have been worth doing. Would have been worth doing Kaido for Farcaster, figuring out some kind of way to make this a reward token, the same way Twitter rewards their top impression posters. We could have done something here, and then the inflation, all the sort of the airdrop farming, all of that stuff, we could have cut that out. But that, you see that in hindsight, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe that would have worked, maybe it wouldn't have. So, but either way, going back to Farcaster, I actually just think it's a great idea. Like I think right now they're trying to sell Farcaster. I think this isn't the last cycle of Farcaster. I really think we're going to see another cycle. I think somebody's going to buy it that we just don't expect, and that person is just going to push this thing in a whole new different way, in a very opinionated way, something that we haven't seen before. So I'm still bullish on them, and if I'll keep posting. I've been posting there like every week, every few days, sometimes multiple times a day. So I haven't stopped because there's something to all of that.
Yeah, and I've seen your posts. I think like all credit to you, and to just tag on what you said before about the working together, finding some common ground to create like the character of Farcaster. It kind of comes down to like do you want a slice of a watermelon or entirety of a grape? And like together, it could have been bigger, but then we'll torture ourselves till the cows come home with the what ifs, what could have beens. But going forward, I do hope that Farcaster finds a new home, and that exactly as you said, a new buyer comes out of left field and finds a way to revitalize it. My personal sentiments, because I mean, so look, this will be the last episode I do with the Powered by Farcaster branding on it. I left it on here because out of respect, because of everything you've done with Farcaster. Just I thought it was like brand appropriate. But like Farcaster is looking for a new home. I was doing some media stuff for Farcaster for a few months, and before that, I created the Spaces app for Farcaster and Base app. Base app wound down their social in January, and Farcaster's winding things down. At the moment, like just in this rebirthing phase, and I have pretty good numbers on Twitter,
Yeah.
to be honest. And when I was trying to convert people over to like, hey, so Friday night, let's do spaces on Farcaster. Instead of hundreds of people joining, I'd get tens of people joining. Maybe like 50 listeners. I think like the personal best I did on the show was 99, which irks me because I never broke the 100 people on the show. It's like, damn it, just one more person. Come on. I got 99 people on the show in Farcast, and then on Spaces, it's more than that.
Yeah.
But the fact that the thing that I found was like the issue was changing consumer behaviors. It's always a hard one. Like even though the Spaces features were better on Farcaster, especially when we were building Spaces on Farcaster, where a mini app Fireside was the brand. Tipping, you could have it was XMTP chat. You could tip whatever tokens, more emojis, soundboard, or like literally like Spaces the way that you would create space. If you were somebody who spent a lot of time on Spaces, remove all the limitations and create all the features you'd want in the Spaces. That's what we did. Because I'm someone who was doing Spaces daily for over a year before I branched into live streams and just spread my wings a little bit. And I was like, these are the things that I wish we had. And then partner with some smarter people than myself, some clever devs, and we created the app. But getting people to use the app, they're like, wow, this is great. Getting them to come back regularly, it wasn't organic. It didn't have the same traction as Twitter Spaces because you didn't get the same visibility, the same organic visibility. It was always a, hey, remember, join the conversation at this time. So
yeah, you need the distribution essentially, and so that's the thing that Twitter kind of gives you. Like once you build that following, they give you a little bit of that distribution, and it's a little bit easier to do. Or it's just it's a chicken or egg problem. It's the cold start problem. It's not an easy one, and that's why the token mechanic of having Degen as like a reward term, like, hey, you can earn 10x more on Farcaster than you can on Twitter. So people are like, all right, sign me up. Like if I can earn over there, I'm glad. I'm happy to come. They're not just going to come for decentralized social, unless you have big censorship issues, which right now you kind of do, but you don't really see it. So it's kind of like the algo censors you in a way, like they might just kind of displace you. But even now the algo has changed on X, like it's changed multiple times this year. And this year you really get distribution to your followers, where before, like in the beginning half of the year, you saw like police videos of people like getting arrested or something. So right now they've changed it back where you see a little bit of like the memes and like the cat videos and that stuff, and all of the sort of more in your face videos. But then you also get distribution from your followers, and you see posts from your followers. So it's better, but it's not China. Like we're not in, like where like it's 100% like censorship. So people are like, well, why do I need this if I'm not getting censored anyway? It's not a big deal. So then there needs to be a catalyst. So it's the same thing like with Polymarket, where there needed to be a catalyst. There needed to be a big election. And people are like, okay, I can bet on this? Okay, that's crazy. Okay, let's go and bet. But without that election, without the World Cup, it's sort of like the volumes really dry up. They die down. It's not the same. It's not the same thing. So you need that catalyst to happen. And what is it for decentralized social? It's probably censorship. It's probably like something that we have no clue about right now. But they have the finance and the social, which is something that Twitter is just starting to do now. They're starting to do cash tags. They're starting to do, I think Nikita or something.
X money.
Yeah, X money. So they were at the beginning of all of that. So I think, and it's going to be hard for Instagram and Facebook and everybody else to marry finance with social. They might be able to do it, but Twitter is starting to do it. They're more open and they're trying to experiment. But with Farcaster, they could have done it immediately. Which is sort of what FOMO ended up doing. And that's the direction that maybe not that, that I don't think that's what Dan wanted. He wanted a Twitter competitor, not a trading app. So anyway, I think there's still a lot of greenfield experiments. I think Farcaster is going to have another wave. There's still a lot of things that can be done there. And I think the finance and social is a very interesting one, and one that even Twitter, I don't think, can experiment on as much as something fresh can, like Farcaster.
Can I just pause and just reflect that? Like, I feel like we could talk for hours.
Yeah,
I really feel like we can, because there's so much to reflect on, so much insight, and so much to discuss. And big shout out to the over 3,000 people tuning in today.
wow.
But like we actually wanted to talk about POV market. I mean, like, dang, we're like 45 minutes into it. Like, this has been a Farcaster degen, like deep dive dissection. Like, okay, how things could work out, but nothing stops the builders. Red days, green days, it's build season. That the hat stays on. But Jacek, like, I think we should do a follow-up on another time to talk more about this. But I do definitely want to give the time to POV market. I mean, like, you had a monster home run with degen, coin chain, minting millionaires, minting tokens, creating the why to use a whole ecosystem chain. Like, you found product market fit to a T there. Now, what is POV market, and like this is your next offering? Like, talk us through, like, what was the inspiration behind it, and what is POV market?
Yeah, so essentially the inspiration was one of the biggest mini apps, going back again to Farcaster, was Ponder. And Ponder was essentially this place where you could bet on subjective markets, so not these sort of like objectively resolving markets the way prediction markets are. So in a prediction market, you have to have a resolution. Essentially, you have to have, like, either this thing happened or it didn't happen. Either the weather was 39 degrees or it wasn't 39 degrees. And so the yeses, or the winners, the losers pay the winners. And so that's how prediction markets work. But there's other types of questions that you can't be asked, like subjective open-ended questions. So, like, is Base Junkie's hat legit, or is it awesome? You ask that question. There's no right answer. Like, people could say yes, it's more of a poll. And so this is something that none of the prediction markets have really done or gone into. It is more greenfield, and it is more new. And this is something that Ponder was doing back, and it doesn't exist anymore, that mini app. But it's the only mini app that I really enjoyed using on Farcaster. And so I thought, that was actually a great idea. Let's try and do something more with that, because I think there's something that can be done here. And so the idea is, like, okay, let's create different markets. Let's make it permissionless, first of all, because that's another thing with Polymarket and Kalshi. It's not permissionless. Essentially, there's multiple reasons for that. There's liquidity issues. Essentially, a market has to be a certain size for it to even make sense for them. It's not even just because they're a big business. It's just because you need a certain liquidity. If you're buying, you need a market maker, essentially. If you're buying yes, you need to be buying it from somebody. And like there's a relationship between the yeses and the nos as well. So there's liquidity issues, and there's resolution issues on prediction markets, where you need a resolver. You need somebody who's a trusted third party that's going to resolve a market. And that's why you can't make it permissionless. Because if you say, hey, Joe from France, or Michigan or whatever, starting a permissionless market, and he's the one that resolves it, well, there's a big conflict of interest, because he can resolve it in his favor. And especially if he's anonymous, he's basically incentivized to rug people. So the idea of POV, point of view, is share your point of view, and permissionless markets. Anybody can create a market. The idea is you shouldn't be creating markets that are like prediction markets. You should be asking open-ended questions like, do you think America is number one? I see somebody like created that question. So that's an open-ended question. we don't resolve the markets. So that's something that I think is a little bit confusing on the site, because you see yeses and nos. So you can buy a yes, you can buy a no. There's no resolution. These are two separate tokens under the hood. There's a yes token and there's a no token. And if you buy the yes token, it has no, it's like two different meme coins. It's like having Toshi and Degen there. By buying Degen, you're not hurting Toshi, and by buying Toshi, you're not hurting Degen, or the other way, right? By buying Degen, you're not hurting Toshi. So vice versa.
So question here. Okay, so like right now, like I'm sharing screen. So this one, will Coinbase launch base token in this 2026 year? 61% says yes, 31% says no. I mean, this looks pretty prediction markety. What would the difference be from a prediction market here? Because obviously there is a resolution date on that.
Yeah, because it's permissionless, and this one is still working on, I think, a trending algorithm or a boosted market. So somebody has boosted this market to the top of the page. We can't really control what people decide to ask. If they decide to ask, like, is this thing going to happen in 2026? Sure, why not? And actually, one of the insights I had into the 2020 election with 2024, the most recent one. So with Trump and Biden, essentially what I saw was that, sure, Polymarket was doing crazy volumes on the Trump and Biden election, but actually the volumes on Biden, and all the different Trump tickers was higher than the Polymarket volumes. So people were buying, and this doesn't include the Trump token that he released after he became president. I'm just looking at the volumes of all the different Trump tokens during the run up to the election, the volumes on all of those, because there was tons on Solana, there was tons on Base, there was tons on Ethereum, and there were Boden tokens, meme tokens. These tokens did way more. And so what does that mean? Why are they buying this? Well, they're attention tokens, but in a sense, they're also trying to say that, hey, I think Trump is the more popular candidate. That's why I'm buying the Trump token, because I think it's more memeable. More people are going to buy it. And I'm buying the Boden token because I actually think that one's more memeable. Or I think that one is the better token. I think Biden has more attention. And so I was like, well, okay, since that's true, then why don't we just create a platform where we pair these two together? And the future of this will be that you can create different tickers. Like right now, the ticker is yes and no. Those are essentially tokens. But they're not. There's no relationship, and they never resolve. So it's essentially like you can imagine in the election buying a Trump token and buying a Biden token, and be like, which one's going to send harder? Well, most people decided Trump token is going to send harder even before the election got resolved, because he was more of a meme. So that's the idea here. It's sort of like putting two meme coins against each other, but we're not calling it that. And also, we're focusing right now on the trading aspect a little bit here. So there's a chart, there's yeses and nos. I think we're going to do a couple more experiments where instead of like yes and no, we're going to do like join and leave, or vote yes or vote no, to make it seem more like a poll, or like you're joining a community. And the next thing we're going to do over the next few weeks is we're going to add a social feed, so you can follow people, you can find people who have similar opinions to you. Because one of the things that we found out is that there is a certain group of people who want to place bets on different markets, like, I don't know, should pineapple on pizza be illegal? And like some people will say yes, and some people will say no. And they want to just put like $1. They want to put $5 on that. They want to put their money where their mouth is. Like, no, I actually believe pineapple on pizza is a bad idea, or the opposite. I like Hawaiian pizza, so I'll be like, yes, I think Hawaiian pizza is great. So, and then we want to find and pair them together with other people that have the same opinions. So go find other people on chain that think like you. So we want to start leaning more into the social aspect of all of this, and not so hard into the trading aspect, and trying just to make it like a PvP sort of game thing. Like, no, like hold the tokens, hold your opinions, So there's a lot to do here. This isn't like the final version of the product by any stretch of the imagination.
I think the final sentiment is something that really makes it compelling. I mean, like, let me just pull this back up, because obviously, like, being permissionless, people can put an end date on stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe by 2026, like that's a very much prediction market.
Yeah.
But this is more like sentiment. Like, what are your feelings? Like, is Batman better than Superman?
Yeah.
Kind of feelings. So there is no correct answer, but this is how much I believe that Batman is better than Superman. And then you can connect with other people that are like, yeah, man, Dark Knight rules, Superman rules. You know, like these sorts of things. I mean, like this question right here. Like, I think this was a better example. Doesn't NFT cabal exist? You know, there's people like 72% says yes, 20% says no. You can bet whichever way you want, and if you join this mind share, then as more people join that share, then your $100 will be worth more. However, if it turns out in breaking news, no NFT cabals exist, that can go up. So you can
Yeah.
I follow. I think the because obviously, like, there's no definitive answer on many of these questions. It's just, I think the last thing you said there about like forming communities around opinions, I think that's something that's really powerful.
Yeah, I think that's the part we haven't really explored on this site. So that's the thing. Like, hey, if you put $5 on like, do NFT cabals exist, and you're like, yes, okay, then go and find other people that think yes as well. And also, I think there's just other use cases where, like, even Coinbase or some bigger companies can be like, you know what, our polls are, you know, we'd like to poll our community, or we'd like to poll people and see what they think about something. But, you know, online, there's a lot of fake accounts, there's a lot of bots, and, you know, that's a cool poll to do. But maybe let's do a poll where people actually put money on it. Because if you're putting money on it, that means something. It means like, okay, you either think this side is going to run, and so you're trying to make money because that's actually what the guy who won so much money, I think they won like $1 million or $2 million or something bucks off Polymarket off of the election. That's what he did. He went around asking neighbors and people like, who do you think other people think are gonna win? Not like, what do you think is gonna happen? Who's gonna win? What do you think other people think? And that was his edge. And he found that they usually gave better answers. And so that's why he decided to put all that money on Trump. And so this is the same thing where you're putting money, not necessarily where you believe. Yes, you can do that, but you can and put your money where your mouth is, or you can sort of be like, well, no. I think, you know, I can buy this at a couple cents right now. I think more people are going to say yes after me, and I can buy and sell it, and I can kind of trade it. So if you have a trader mentality, you'll go into the side that you think is more popular. So I think it's a greenfield idea. I don't think opinions can be resolvable. I've seen people try to do this where they like the more popular side wins, but that's so easy to game, especially with Cybele attacks and things. You know, the side that has the bigger market cap wins. That's easy because somebody who has more money, they'll come in like the last second and put 200K or whatever it is just to like tilt the odds in his favor and win. So those resolvable markets never will work for opinion markets. At least I've never seen that work. So I think they have to be open-ended. And I think it's just a novel concept. And I don't think a lot of people understand it just yet. And I think we haven't shown it quite the right way on POV markets just yet, because it is yes and no, and it looks like a prediction market. Mm-hmm. So I think we need to figure out what the right UI UX is so that people understand that, like, and also like what was the value of buying and holding it as well, because we don't want to make it just PvP, which is like Polymarket. Like, you're going up against somebody else, and for you to win, somebody else has to lose. How can we do it so you want to buy and hold on to your conviction, and maybe it could be a badge of honor, like, hey, you know, what do you think about so and so? And then something comes your way, and you're like, hey, I thought about this 4 years ago. I put $100 on it. Look at me. You know, I've been right all along. I've been telling you guys, because a lot of times we're like, nah, man, like I never remember you saying that. You know,
So-
like when I, yeah.
Two things on that. So first of all, in terms of the UI, like it does look quite prediction market based. I would say like if the forming of communities is a bigger factor on it, and people who agree on certain things, they can connect. I think that would be like a really strong feature of it and like a differentiator. And then is it possible to do something like staking rewards? Like if you lock in your tokens to say like, yes, I believe that the NFT cabal exists, and then just to like just leave your $100 there for 6 months to vouch like your opinion. Could that be treated in a similar way of like locking up tokens?
So that's one thing that I've thought about quite a bit. And so one experiment we might try, because I think a lot of people have asked about this, is essentially like, yeah, I want to buy and hold, but what's the benefit? So like, how do we add a benefit to all of this? So the way it works right now is if you create a market, you earn 1% of all buy fees. We don't put any fees on sales. So there's a 4% protocol fee. Maybe it's steep, maybe it's not, but we still have costs and things like that. And we also don't want to make it free. So we're trying to figure out like, hey, if you're willing to pay a little bit of fees on this, then clearly it's adding you some value. And then we can always come down. It's easier to come down than go up. So
For sure.
there's a protocol fee and there's a 1% fee for the creator of the market. But what we were thinking is maybe we redesign the fee incentives a little bit. Maybe we go down on the protocol fee or maybe whatever, but instead of the creator having a fee, what we could do is essentially if you're one of the first token holders, so essentially you've bought into this market, or we could do it like evenly. So essentially if you've bought into the market and you've held for, let's say, a week or 2 weeks or whatever, essentially you can start earning the fees the market is generating. So, and just like proportionally, it's kind of like with Uniswap, essentially like becoming a liquidity provider to some degree. Except, yeah, well, it's kind of like becoming a liquidity provider. So, but maybe just, we'd have to figure out what's the right way to do it. Like, what is the right hold time? Does there even need to be a hold time? Is it evenly distributed about, through everybody that's holding those tokens? Is it just the first 10 people is just the first 10,000 shares and they get to sort of hold this? Because then there's a benefit to like buying and holding and maintaining the market cap at a certain place. So that is a thing we want to do. And then you don't have to stake anything. You just have to buy and hold. And there's going to be a little place where you can kind of be like, oh, you're earning a 0.1% of this market. It's doing, let's say, $100,000 in volume every day. So you're earning, 1% off 100,000 is 1,000. So you're earning $100, essentially, like, let's say if you have a 0.1%. So, so essentially, yeah. And like people are earning some money off of this as well. So like even our dev, the front end dev yesterday, I think he made $15 because we featured one of his markets in the daily pot, which is like another thing we're doing. It's more of like a lottery type system where if you buy a ticket, if you buy into a market, we give you a ticket and we give away a certain amount of money every hour. But that's more of like a gambling sort of like Gamble-fi fun thing we do for people just to give them extra rewards. But anyway, I think the staking thing has been brought up multiple times. So I think we have to give it a try.
Yeah, honestly, I'd be happy to like chop it up with you more like after the show. I have some more ideas, but like with the number of people that are just watching, like let's talk about it. Let's flesh it out, because you might just say to me like, "Nah, Mike, that's a terrible idea," and you spare my feelings off air. But then you might be like, "That's the one. That's the one." But all right. Well, listen, we're kind of on like the tail end of this. I know last week some people would be probably curious to know about some of the dramas with you and and Deployer. I mean, like, do you want to talk about that? Like, what is your stance on the situation? Why the beef?
Yeah, why the beef? I don't even think I have like that much beef with him personally or anything, but maybe that's how it sort of gets taken. I have beef with the fact that he's on his sixth token since that I know of, essentially since Farcaster. I don't know what he's been doing, before that, before I kind of knew him. He had this token called FAM, PHAM. He started TN100X, which was sort of like a copy of Degen with tipping and also an L3 and things like that. It's actually pretty well made, so I'm not gonna like lie that was that was badly made or it was just like a clear rip. So it was cool. But then he moved on to Banker, which is the latest project, saying that fees were going to route back to TN100X holders, which never ended up happening. In the middle of that, he launched Deployer, which was a Zora token, which also went up and then sort of I don't know, just went to zero. Now he's launching Pools.fun or whatever, which is like another token, which is like super surprising to me because like I understand pivoting, I understand all this kind of stuff, like it's fine, but I feel like if you're working in the startup industry, you need to have some amount of conviction. So like you can't just be pivoting to like new ideas, especially when you have a token holder base, and just completely abandoning the holder base you just built up and promised like you're going to build this huge new thing without giving it like a little bit more time, a little bit more effort. I just don't think that like a 4 to 6 month window for a token is that much time or effort spent. So yeah, and especially when you did promise fees to going back to the TN100X holders and just like a bunch of things. Yeah, I don't like that. I feel like it's very low conviction, and you're abandoning the old holders. And also Banker, like from everything that I've been reading and what he's been sort of posting, it seems like it's going really well. Like they're getting a lot of support from base, which like Degen, we've been getting we've got some support, but like not to that degree. Like Jesse's is constantly shilling it. Tons of people are shilling it. They're posting $5 billion of volume generated. So, obviously I don't know the exact financials behind all of this, but if you're doing $5 billion in volume and you're putting that on the front page like 3 weeks ago, whenever you did, and even if you're taking like 0.5% of that, or even if you're taking 1/4% of that, that's still a cool few $1 million. And I get that they have an 11-person team, and that's a decision that he made, and I don't know what the burn rate is and all that kind of stuff, and how much of the fees come in ETH and how much of them come in like these e-liquid tokens. But I still imagine there's a few $1 million on the table just from the fees, and that's not even from selling Banker, which is another option you can always do. There's tons of things you can do. You don't even have to sell Banker. There's things that you can do with market makers, sell call options, all this kind of stuff, where you don't have to sell a single token. You can just make money off of the volume that's being generated. So there's tons of money that in my opinion, sitting on, and there's tons of success that it sort of had. And why the pivot? Why the pivot to pools? Why? And like, okay, the idea there was that, from what I understood, is that essentially they're trying to expand the brand, but they're not expanding the brand. They're creating a brand new brand. They're trying to expand the business. This is all going to be under one labs entity. This is a new experiment, whatever. I don't believe that. I don't think there's founders that can successfully run 2 projects at once, unless you're Elon Musk and you've had success under your belt and that's what you do. You know how to run these businesses. But it's so hard to run a single startup. It's so hard to like find product market fit with one product. There's no way you can do it with 2 or 3 products unless you are like this genius type of person, which is Musk, and that's why he gets so much credit for everything, because it's almost impossible to make one company work. It's nearly like completely impossible to make 2 companies work to like a huge success. So especially in a greenfield area, like if you're running a second restaurant, it's a different thing. That's not a startup. So I feel like, and then especially kind of when I know like your story, like you sort of what you mentioned earlier was like you went into the NFT stuff and you went down with the ship, like you really, and that's what I've been doing with Degen. Like we've seen huge drawdowns, but it's across the sector. So even with like Pudgy Penguins, they saw like a 99% drawdown or 95% drawdown. He's Luca Nets wasn't like, oh, it's not working. Let's go pivot to the next thing. Let's do I don't know, Crazy Sloth token. No, he's still doing Pudgy Penguins, and now they're down to an 85% drawdown because they got a little bit, they bounced off the Bitcoin thing a little bit. So I feel like there needs to be some conviction. The brand needs to keep being built. Startups is not a 6-month thing. It's usually a few years of like intense grinding. And I always think of like other founders, like for instance with the UFC and Dana White. Like I listened to a ton of Dana White, and I really enjoy like what he sort of built over there. Like he loved fighting. Like why are you doing all of this stuff at the end of the day? And I feel like there's two types of people in crypto. There's the people who just want to extract and earn really quickly, and there's the people who actually want to build something because they see a bigger value. Like they're not so much takers, they're more givers. And so I think Dana White is something that a person that I think is kind of like interesting. It's completely out of crypto, but essentially his whole story was also, they bought essentially the UFC for $2 million. They put in $40 million into the hole, essentially trying to get that thing to work, like basically giving up at the end, and then just having Spike TV deal happen for streaming, or not for streaming, for having a sort of reality TV show. Yeah, for the Ultimate Fight, and that turning everything around. And like all he cares about is fighting. Like, of course he cares about money, but like he just cares about fighting so much, and he believed in it so, and like he put like his heart into it. Like there was even a story where his second child was essentially about to be born, and he had a fight planned on Saturdays. Like he just told the doctors like the kid cannot be born on Saturday. Like you guys got to pull him out like on Wednesday or Thursday.
Keep it in.
How do you keep it in? And so they ended up doing a C-section because he's like, Saturday I got to fight. Like I got a business to run. I got things to do. Like this is how much I believe in what I'm doing. I can't abandon people. He built the UFC. He hired everybody. He was doing fights all through COVID, all that kind of stuff. So I look up to all types of people. But like when I hear that and I see how much conviction like somebody like that has, he'd be doing that if he was earning $2,000 a month. Like as long as like if he could be living off of that, he'd be doing it. And so with crypto, I just kind of feel like there's some of these people who I question what their actual motives is. And I feel like a lot of the community is doing that because a lot of the community came from the cypherpunk era and that's why I like Farcaster, because I generally like whatever bad, I have to say about Dan and Varun and Farcaster for maybe like, I wish they had supported me or whatever. I feel like we could have done more. I will never say anything about them, like question their moral judgment or question them as like bad actors. Like there's no, like they, like for like 100%, I knew that their head was in the right place. They were trying to do the right thing. They were trying to build a value add to people. And so there's no question about that. But with other people in this industry, I'm kind of like, well, what is your real motive? Like, are you really trying to get, these tokens and this technology to be adopted by people around the world and trying to make a cool product? Or is this kind of just the PvP game that we're all, all trying to rug each other? So that's sort of like the long-winded version of this. I don't know like what his motives are. I just don't think launching a 6 token is like, in 2.5 years is a great indicator of anything. So yeah, that, and especially for me, I think it's frustrating because I've been working on Degen for 2.5 years, almost 3 in January, and it's tough. It's like a tough thing to do because attention fades. So the easiest thing to do is just launch a new token, grab the new attention, and like repeat. And that's, you can do that, but I want to do something with Degen and make sure that at least the holders know that I tried as hard as I could to do whatever I could for like the community, and that's why they believe in me. So and also
just to ask on that, like, is Degen incorporated at all into the POV market?
So the idea here is, yes, you can buy boosts. So essentially you can boost your market using Degen. That's one of the features. We want to start adding more. So maybe something with staking, like you were mentioning, maybe if you stake, maybe you earn off some of the fees. We definitely want to use POV as a Degen product. So once it becomes profitable, or once it starts generating enough fees, we're just going to start buying back Degen. So that's always been the plan. So whenever POV needs to be successful to some degree for it to have value for Degen. Otherwise, just plugging in Degen isn't going to give any value. But we already are plugging in. So there is, like, you can buy boosts. Maybe what we'll do is that if you hold X amount of Degen, you'll get like fee reduction from 5% to like 2%, or I don't know, something like that. So it makes it like a lot easier to trade. Same thing with the Degen NFT, because we did like this Degen NFT earlier this year. So we are looking at ways to plug it in, but we also feel like we need a little bit more product market fit for it to even do anything to move the needle.
Yeah, I think it just at this point, if the product is there, it's just it's marketing push.
Yeah.
Just, I think it's a cool concept. Just people need to hear about it.
True.
And I'm hoping some of the viewers today can hear about it, learn about it, and just be curious to try it out. So I guess as we like put a nice ribbon on this, what would be a call to action for the people that are viewing today?
Yeah, the call to action is go to pov.co, sign up, check out the website, and every day we do a daily pot. And I think if you're going to try and participate on POV, I would say go check out the daily pot. It only goes for 5 hours every day. We're giving away like $40, I think, every hour. And it's a fun way to trade the markets. Another thing you could do is also create a market. So if you do have some amount of followers, or you just want to do it with you and your friends, I think that's the best way to create like funny stuff. Like it needs to be like, it doesn't need to be serious. I think the best markets are the less serious ones. So, like, is pineapple on pizza a good idea or whatever? I think things like that. And then share it on socials, share it with me. I'm happy to quotecast it. I'm happy to amplify cool markets and things like that. So yeah, it's just about signing up, trying it out, putting a few dollars into it, and seeing if you like it. And if you do like it, or if you don't like it, actually, then message me like that because we are in like startup mode. So this isn't like the final version of the product by any means. My DMs are always open, and also the Degen Army Telegram. I'm always there. I'm on Farcaster. I'm everywhere. So essentially, I'm always grabbing feedback.
Boom. Well, there you have it, guys. Make sure that you follow Jacek 0x and POV Market. And of course, if you're not already following the Degen account, what are you even doing? But guys, I want to say a big shout out to everybody who tuned in today. 3,300 viewers, like fantastic for Tuesday evening. You guys could be anywhere, but you choose to be here with us. Just like, please stay on after the show. I do want to just share a few more thoughts after the show. But guys, until the next one. In fact, I think we're going to start the base batches for submissions. I'm going to put a link out so people can start booking that for the on the Calendly. Maybe we'll start next week, maybe the following week. I do want to highlight as many builders as possible on these base batches seasons. But guys, today was a standalone episode with one of the legends in the space. This will be the last one that I have with the Farcaster sponsorship, but I felt it was super appropriate because of Jacek, everything he's done with Degen, with Farcaster, and I thought it would be the perfect swan song to the bannership. But guys, yeah, make sure you follow Jacek on socials, and we'll see you on a future one. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, but most importantly, stay based. Peace out,
See you
everyone.
guys.
I'm a baseline junkie. I'm a baseline junkie. Tell him again. I'm a baseline junkie. Tell him again. And I like it funky.